Come, let us explore the second verse of the Great Garuda in Flight, a Dzogchen classic. This text, the Great Garuda in Flight, was composed many centuries ago by the great Buddhist reformer Prahevajra of the Swat Valley, then known as Odhyana. So together let us relaxingly recite. Beyond contrived action, self-originated pristine awareness does not dwell as an object, nor does it need an antidote to be corrected. Even if one were to seek the realm of the fundamental essence by means of diverse phenomena, one could only enjoy it through its non-conceptual aspects, as the essence manifests naturally. The true nature of reality cannot be found anywhere else. Okay, there's a lot of words here that could sound like word salad. I'll do my best to make sense of it. So, a common theme in Prahevajra's writings is self-originated pristine awareness. So I'm going to take a moment to explain what it is so that everybody is on the same page. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, including humans, including meditation teachers. That means that while maybe 10% of people are drawn to being flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, the majority, including meditation teachers, are enthusiastic to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Therefore, it should come as a little surprise that these types of meditation teachers, often with the best of intentions, implore their students to over-focus and over-analyze, thus so exhausting their prefrontal cortex that they begin displaying or presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering their amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression. The good news is that it doesn't have to be this way. When we cooperate with the sympathetic and the parasympathetic aspects of our autonomic nervous system, it calms the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala, as well as gently stimulates the anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, the root of both compassion and love. There's another way of looking at this. Every time we breathe in and breathe out, we have a choice. Will we passively cooperate with the two aspects of our autonomic nervous system, or will we actively over-focus and over-analyze? Most people will say, well, I want to do the first thing. How do I do that? How do I therapeutically, passively, gently, sustainably cooperate with the two facets of my autonomic nervous system? By the way, the ancients referred to our autonomic nervous system as our Buddha nature. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, let me rephrase this. A fancy term for mindfulness is just a fancy term for noticing. And every time we inhale, we are already evolved to automatically access the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. Notice the word randomly. It's not our job to choose what we focus on. Instead, we randomly notice whatever comes up, be it external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. What are we to do with that which we notice? And so, by the way, that's what we refer to as, wow, that was really surprising. Okay, my side monitor, that which functions as my side monitor, participated in an experiment verifying gravity still works. Almost knocked over my beverage. Of course, that reminds me of a line from Big Lebowski. Careful, man, we got a beverage here. So, awareness. So we just described awareness or noticing. Now let's describe the pristine aspect of awareness. Meditation is just a fancy word for physically relaxing and mentally releasing. Every time we inhale, we have evolved to automatically cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system, which is divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could literally, fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and figuratively feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand. That's what's meant by pristine. So it's kind of like it's like washing your hands after going potty. Because during awareness we can notice all sorts of filthy McNasties, but as we relax into our exhalation, we are freed from the tyranny of that which we notice. Whether we notice rage or terror or despair or bliss, as we relax into our exhalation, our choices and our utterances and our deeds are freed from their tyranny. They are freed from their control. And let's come back to the word random. That's what we talk about. That will feature into my next little explanation. So I'm going to return to our practice text, our opening lesson. That's what we mean by self-originated. We don't choose what we notice. What we notice pops up. It's like playing whack-a-mole at Chuck E. Cheese. We don't choose what pops up. We just hit whatever pops up with our little mallet. Similarly, we don't choose what pops up. We notice it vulnerably and passively, and we relax during our exhalation. Noticing, relaxing, noticing whatever comes up. So there are no wrong sights or sounds or sensations or flavors or sense. There are no wrong emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, or imaginations. Yes, some are pleasurable and some are painful, some are interesting, some are boring, some are glorious, and some are grotesque. But they are neither good nor bad, they simply are. So it's not our job. Who we are is not determined by what we spontaneously notice. Who we are is determined by what we do with what we notice. And if what we do is cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, then do not be surprised when you are described as being fully realized. Perhaps this is why, of all the many nicknames for enlightenment, my personal favorite is nothing special. You know, there's always going to be controlling, rigid, fearful elitists who delight in making things very difficult and very complex. But the Buddha taught in the penultimate passage of the Satipatthana Sutta that one could master his path in as little as 7 days. So, now that we have some context, let's return to this. Beyond contrived action. We don't need rituals. We don't need concentration. We don't need analysis. These things do more harm than good. They reinforce the fundamental duality of pushing and pulling. Simply being vulnerable to whatever comes up is the most efficient way of transcending duality. Beyond contrived actions, self-originated pristine awareness does not dwell as an object. It's a process. It's not a special object that Indiana Jones has to go on an adventure to find. It's built into every complex life form on this planet. We all have the ability to notice as we breathe in. We all have the ability to relax to a certain degree as we breathe out. If you've had the good fortune of living with cats, and occasionally you can find your cat sitting with its eyes closed in front of a wall, you've seen that we have the capacity to just chill, to notice and relax. Let us continue. Nor does it need an antidote to be corrected. There are no bad perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We notice whatever we notice, whether it's pleasurable, painful, interesting, or boring, we notice it and we relax. That process is the same for things that are interesting, for things that are boring, for things that are pleasurable, for things that are painful, for things that are peaceful, for things that are turbulent. It's the same process. And that is the fundamental practice of non-duality. No special treatment. Even if one were to seek the realm of the fundamental essence by means of diverse phenomena. So, those, our friends and our neighbors and our family members who are really, really, really rigid, don't get figures of speech. There was a movie that came out in the late 80s called The Dream Team. And these bad psychiatrists were keeping long-term students completely dragged out and just living like zombies. And a young psychiatrist wanted to get them off the heavy meds so they could actually begin. So instead of numbing symptoms, they could use symptoms to reveal what's really going on and get them the real therapy they needed. So, in an effort to make his case, the good psychiatrist said, This is killing them. They're dying with this treatment. And that was obviously a hyperbolic statement. Anybody with a high school education anyone with a junior high school education could recognize that. But the bad psychiatrists are saying nobody's dying, as if deliberately interpreting the metaphoric statement, the figurative statement, as a literal one. Having said that, there are many figurative statements in the teachings of Buddhism. One of them is the idea of the Dharma Dhatu, or truth realm. That is a metaphor for the experience of relaxing and physically relaxing, mentally releasing, which is the natural thing to do during each exhalation. But some people are literal-minded, and they think they need to go on a Tolkien quest to Mount Doom to go find these things. No, it's even in the Christian New Testament, in the Synoptic Gospels, Jesus says the kingdom of God is within you. And of course, first epistle of John, we read that God is love. And then we ask a neurologist, and they say, yes, the anterior cingulate gyrus, whose diagram we looked at a few minutes ago, is the seat of empathy and compassion and love. How cool is that? So, what Prahe Vajra is doing here is reminding us that we don't need to go on some dramatic external quest. We don't need a special place. We don't need a special time. All we need is already in our bodies, regardless of how disabled some of us might be. I'm totally disabled. And yet I'm still able to practice this. I had the extreme good fortune to receive these teachings, and now I'm passing them on to you, absolutely free. Not because I'm compassionate, just because I'm an idiot that way. So, one could only enjoy it through its non-conceptual aspects. So the peace and the love that we desire, the peace and the love that are the opposite of the anxiety and aggression of an overstimulated amygdala, the peace and love we want cannot be grasped at. We can only experience them vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Have you ever caught something out of the corner of your eye, and when you turn to look at it with your foveal vision, you can't find it? You were only able to perceive what you perceived using the peripheral vision out of the corner of your eye. Similarly, using the path of patriarchy to grasp at peace and love makes about as much sense as making love in the name of virginity. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun way to spend an afternoon, but it's not going to get you anywhere closer to your stated goal. I began my first teachers were patriarchal, and they taught me the path of rigidity, the path of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and even cruel. And I have a dear former friend who I have great affection for. She's still with that group, and she still is rigid and fearful and controlling and aggressive and coercive and demeaning, not because she's a bad person, but because she learned the wrong lessons from the wrong people, or did not unlearn the wrong lessons from the wrong people. Most of us are spoon-fed the wrong lessons from the wrong people. Some of us have the good fortune to escape that. The essence manifests naturally. The true nature of reality cannot be found anywhere else. Naturally. Enlightenment, liberation, nirvana, whatever you call it, there are so many synonyms. It is not the product of contrivance. We cannot force it, we must cooperate. And so that begs a very important question. How are we to do this thing? How are we to passively cooperate with the sympathetic and parasympathetic aspects of our autonomic nervous system? Simple. So simple, it'll knock your socks off. Every time we feel air enter our nostrils, whether we're lying or walking or sitting, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. Every time we feel air exit our nostrils, silently and mentally we could recite the one-syllable verb ease. It's just that simple. Whether you practice for 5 minutes once every 12 hours, or 20 minutes every 12 hours, or 60 minutes every 12 hours, playing with this and playing with ease is like taking a hot shower at the end of a long day and washing the world off your back. But, you might say, it's first thing in the morning. I just had 8 hours of sleep. It's the weekend. What am I washing off my back? The slings and arrows of outrageous perception, emotion, intention, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. There's always something to wash off. Wash off the pleasure, wash off the pain, wash off the interest, wash off the boredom, wash off the gloriousness, wash off the grotesque, wash off the contrivance, and you'll feel like a new person. Okay, so for the remainder of our hour together, to sit as sustainably as we can. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions approximately once every 13 minutes or so. Let's dig in. as when we feel air enter our nostrils, silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this. Doing so aligns our intention with the sympathetic nervous system that's already wired to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, or fleetingly. Every time we silently and every time we feel air exit our nostrils, we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease to align our intention with the functionality of our parasympathetic nervous system, which is already wired to physically relax and mentally release. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 and approximately 11 hours, I very much look forward to returning to lead today's evening meditation class as well as group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you